Hey Justin, how are you? How's
Hi,
everything?
how are you, Zink?
I just wanted to thank you so much that we can have this short coffee chat to talk about university, how applying was, and your studies before that. So my name is Zink Agro Infante. I'm the founder of Learner's Path, and we'd like to learn about your experiences for studying in universities abroad and how their academic culture is quite different from what we think it is. Right? So enough about me. Could you please tell us
Mm.
about yourself, like where you currently study, how you got there, and any future plans?
So I'm currently studying at University of London's program with London School of Economics. I'm doing a bachelor's degree in economics and management, and I graduated high school from GEMS Westminster School, which I believe Zink, you're from there as well. I'm an alumnus of TWS, and yeah, that's it. It's a brief introduction to my background.
What A levels did you take precisely for high school?
I took three A levels, which would be mathematics, economics, and the English language. Those are the three that I took. Yeah,
All right, so did you have a specific studying method for those? And like, is that the same for
studying.
university exams?
So it's actually quite similar. I can actually say that the AS A level learning path it sets you up perfectly for university because the A level and what they have in common, A levels and universities, is that you have the freedom to study. You have these all this free time, and basically the time is in your hands. You schedule when you're going to study. You just have classes, let's say 1 or 2, 3 hours in a day, and they're all spaced out differently depending on the schedule. And then in between that, in between those times, between your lectures, you just have that free time to do what you want. And it's up to you whether you're going to study. It's up to you whether you're going to waste your time. But really, it's in your hands. And so the method that I did was when I was back in high school was that to make use of that time, I just look for an empty room and build a setup, get comfortable, and just put myself in the zone. I like to study with music,
Yeah,
um, and yeah, that's how I got through most of A levels.
yeah. Did you utilize every free period that you got to study?
I had to, yes.
Yeah.
But okay, you know what? I'd be lying if I said every minute was used to
Okay.
study because um, I'd say a solid 70 to 70% of my free periods were used to study.
Okay.
The rest were socializing with my classmates, hunting down teachers, and at the same time, I held positions of leadership back when I was in TWS. So I had to help out one way or another, helping other students, um, and just communicating whatever the teachers and the stakeholders of TWS had to
Yeah.
um, distribute amongst the students of the school. Yeah,
So it's a huge blend of just extracurriculars and just academics, like full on.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You had to
so
balance that out.
it's quite similar to university life, I suppose, or is it quite different?
Well, the idea of A levels and AS, it's basically this massive preparation for what university would be.
Okay.
Um, although there is a difference, if there's any difference, it would be it's not as close knit as a university. So if you'd be in your A levels, you'd be in a class of, let's say, 15, 20 at most.
Yeah.
How many are you in your class, if I may asking?
It's about like 25 of us.
25, there you go. But in a university, it'd be different. You'd be sharing your lectures with 50, 80, 100, depending on your course. If you're taking business or economics per se, you'll have, yeah, around that 50 to 80 people in your lecture. Um, if you're taking, I don't know, physiotherapy, maybe you'd have 10 or 15. So there are different class sizes, but I'd say when you're, for me, I share my classroom with around 40 to 50 people. And the thing is with that, you have to fight for attention You have to fight. It's a competition based on how much. If you have any questions,
Oh,
the professor only has so much time. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly.
So there's this you're constantly at the same time you have the input from all these other people that you have to balance out in your head. And yeah, it's on a grander scale.
That's
That is if
definitely,
you're going to a big university.
yeah, that's for sure an academic culture shock. Did you have anything else? Like, I
Yeah,
know a lot of people say the jump from IGCSEs to A levels is big, but do you think it's a lot
it's
more
massive.
massive from A levels to university? Do you think it's a lot more?
I actually think that the jump from ALevels from IGCSE is bigger than the university jump.
Oh, okay.
Um, I actually think so. There will, in terms of academics though, because the thing is, for university, you dictate sort of how much learning you're going to go through.
Yeah.
Um, so for A levels and AS, there's a set syllabus, but you're expected to learn what's in the syllabus and a little bit more of something beyond it. But in university, you have your syllabus, but you're expected to learn more or beyond what's there, beyond what exists. Because there are hundreds and thousands of literary journals, articles, and research that's available, and they expect you to be up to date with that all that information.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of you're not just dealing with um, a small scale regional type of learning. You're in your mind you should be thinking, I'm learning with input from people all around the world,
Yeah.
especially if you're in a research based um, subject. Yeah.
I wanted to learn more about your university application process. Like when you're applying to universities outside of the UAE or outside of Philippines. How was that like?
Mm. So the application process is it's not as standardized as applying to a local institution per se. If you apply to the USA, it's a lot easier, in the sense that you have to just go through the college board portal. You fill up you fill up all your details, and you can send that application to hundreds of different universities in US. But it would be entirely different for, let's say, Europe. In Europe, you have to apply to individual universities.
Okay.
um, Germany would have a different application process. Uh, Italy would have a different application process. So would the Netherlands, and each university would have their own individual process. So it's very different. U.S., U.K., Canada, Europe. Um, for me personally, I applied to two Reach universities, which is it's not a common thing where you just apply to two universities. Usually you'd apply to five or seven.
Oh, okay.
Um, so there's three levels of application of the like three recommended application styles. You'd apply to safety universities, which means that 100% you'd get in. And then there's the mid level where there is a really good chance to get in. And then the third tier would be the reach universities. I'm talking Ivy Leagues. I'm talking all these hard to get in schools.
Yeah.
So you applied, let's say you applied to three or two Reach universities, or yeah. So that's the method that is suggested. I didn't do that because applications
It's a lot.
are very difficult. It's a lot, and I was just focused on these two universities anyway, and I got into both.
Praise God.
But yeah, praise God indeed. And then the thing is, the difficulty of that is the amount of essays that you have to do.
Yeah.
And these essays are not just things that you can just brush through. Because the application process, let's say the person, the adjudicator who's going through these applications, they read through hundreds and thousands of words from all these applicants. So you really have to make it shine. Yeah. So when it comes to their prompts about asking about who you are or where you're from, or detailing, or the prompt might say, uh, give us a 500 word essay of who you are. It could be as simple as that, or it could be something different in the sense that the prompt might say, give us a 300 word essay as to how you'd interact with a classroom of 50 different nationalities. It could be that diverse, the question or the prompt. And you'd have to think for weeks. It took weeks for me to develop 300 words. Can you imagine? It's not easy. So you have to really think through that properly.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was quite stressful, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which academic year did you start building up your profile and doing this? Was it from year 11, year 12, year 9?
I'd say year nine when IGCSE started.
Okay,
That's, yeah. I mean, I was more focused on my extracurriculars actually,
okay.
which is, in hindsight, it's a little bit of a mistake, but it did teach me a lot of skills that I'm 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 using on a day-to-day basis today.
So, what do you think is a good balance between like academics and extracurriculars? Like, what should I focus on more? Or should I have a good balance of each? What do you think?
If you're gonna put that into a percentage, I'd say 60-40. 60% academics, 40% extracurriculars. And then um, once you get to A levels, 70-30.
70, 30.
Once you get to university, I'd say you go back to 50-50.
Okay,
That's my that's what I think, at least.
okay.
That's a personal opinion, because A levels really are it's a massive jump, and you'd really want to focus on those subjects. And then
Yeah,
once you're in university, you have all this free time, so it makes up for the like the time that you'd spent rather studying. You can balance things a lot more in university.
okay.
In fact, a lot of my friends are saying, I'm finding university balance a lot easier than A level.
Oh, okay.
It varies from person to person, but
Okay.
for me, yeah, for other people at the same time.
That's that's shocking actually. But that's a glimmer of hope for us because it's good that we're being trained of how university is like. Yeah, so I'd like to know like what kind of extracurriculars did you do? Like anything that's kind of remarkable, if you'd like to share.
When I was in A levels, or I did a lot of MUNs. Um, I'm sure you're familiar with the Model United Nations. So basically, I started in small scale MUNs, being a delegate in a few schools, and then I started becoming a co-chair in a few regional MUNs, and then I applied to an international MUN, um, and that's where it started. Where you just build up from there, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing MUNs. I was also part of the Student Advisory Council for TWS, and I'm sure you as well. You're in a position of leadership. Um, what else did I do? I also did a lot of part-time jobs that are um, more skill building. A lot of internships outside of school. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I also wanted to ask um about internships and volunteerings. And
Yeah.
as a student, how do you reach out to people for internships? Like, do you go through your school? Do you apply? Do you cold email organizations? How do you go about with that?
I did everything. I cold emailed organizations, from my connections. Well, from networking events. I'd say 70% of people who get hired in good jobs are from connections. And that's just a guesstimate. But really, if you the more you attend networking events with other people, I'm talking, um, for example, global education forums, or going through expo events and world trade. That's where and you put yourself out there. That's and you build a network. That's that's where people get jobs because you're already having these face-to-face interactions with recruiters or business owners. But I'd say one very underrated site that students are not making use of would be LinkedIn. I've developed a big network through LinkedIn. And in fact, if you build a good profile, you interact a lot with people. You interact with their posts. You ask questions. You develop a good network and possibly gain um, employment from there. There's a lot of opportunities there on LinkedIn. Yeah.
And I'm sure that everything that you've done, well, the majority of all of your extracurriculars were something that you enjoyed, right? Something that you were passionate about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Before I answer that, I'd just like to share my experience from networking on LinkedIn. So before I applied to universities, I looked up, for example, Bocconi University. I looked up people from Bocconi University, alumni, and both students who are still studying there. I just asked them questions, and they answer. They reply because they know the value of LinkedIn. And so I have all this information of what to do, what not to do, where to apply, where to find housing from the people that I encountered on LinkedIn, and it's really helpful social networking app.
I really do believe that being passionate about the extracurriculars that you do, because you put a lot of effort into that. Um, did you do any passion projects per se, or like, do you encourage students to do passion projects on top of their academics?
So I've already mentioned it actually, that because MUNs for me they're my passion product projects.
Okay.
Uh, it's a sort of and most of the assemblies that I'd attend are usually regarding economic sustainability, efficient allocation of resources, me talking about that and how to say fostering solutions with other passionate students around the world. That's it for me. I love doing that, making position papers and actually um, developing these solutions that we submit to NGOs. That's that's a passion for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something to note. And I think that everyone watching this right now, I think that's something really remarkable that whenever we do anything, any extracurricular, anything outside of school, it's something that we should be passionate about because we spend a lot of time with
Mm,
that. And outside of academics, something that you said that in high school we should spend 60% of in academics, we're putting
yeah.
40% out of that. So we should really, really use that 40% to the best of our use.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just to close, I know that board exams are coming up, especially the
Mm,
Feb-March series for IGCSEs and A-levels. So I just wanted to ask if you could share some advice. I know that you've written your IGCSEs and your A-levels. Uh,
yes.
could you please share some advice for those who are discouraged, nervous, taking it for the first time, including me as well? Count me in that.
Pomodoro, the technique of the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of this thing? The Pomodoro technique?
I heard a little bit about it. It's like where you
So
segment everything.
it's sorry?
It's like where you segment everything, I suppose. Like you.
Yeah. So you set a pattern of study break, study break, study break. So there, if you can actually download an app, I forgot the name, but um, usually I just do it manually with my timer. But there are a lot of good apps out there. So if you search Pomodoro, um, the basic idea is that you study for let's say 30 minutes, and then you'll get a break of 5 minutes, and then you study again for 30 minutes, and then you get a break of 10 minutes. You study again for 30 minutes, and then you get a break of 15 minutes. So doing so, it it doesn't it ensures that you don't plateau in your learning curve
Yeah.
because you give yourself breaks in between. Your learning curve still accelerates at a steady pace. So it's just about pacing yourself.
Okay.
And the thing that I did when I was doing A-levels was until now is that I have a set playlist, a set playlist of music, instrumental music that I love to listen to. For me, it's jazz. For you, it might be something else. Um, so I have a list of these 15, or I have a playlist of let's say 15 to 20 songs, and that's the only those are the same songs I'd keep playing for all subjects for months. So
Okay.
whenever I'm studying, I put the music on. I associate that music with my learning. So um, yeah,
So you also kind of enjoy studying with that,
sometimes
right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'll have that music on, and the moment I hear it, I'm like, oh, I'm in that zone now.
Yeah.
Because your brain it subconsciously you built that environment with that music. And compared with, let's say, doing a shuffle playlist of random songs, you
Yeah.
keep hearing new songs and you get distracted. So yeah, it's about building that environment, pacing yourself, and yeah, just using your time efficiently,
That's
taking breaks. Don't make sure, yeah,
make sure we don't
just
get burnt out.
enjoy. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't get burned out. Go
And
outside, take a walk, absorb the good weather.
yes, we really should do that, especially after COVID. We got to appreciate
Hmm.
really how outside is.
My advice is for you to put yourself out there. Don't get restricted to, let's say, the thing is with not, let's say, if you're not doing IGCSEs, you maybe do some other curriculum. Always set yourself up for application-based learning. So even if your curriculum is basically you feel like, oh, I'm just memorizing. There's just endless memorization. Just make sure that you take your own time, make your own curriculum of using that you're learning and applying it in the real world. So if, let's say if you're studying for the sciences and physics, you read something in your book, try to make that data or graph using things that you see in your surroundings, and just it's more like a DIY. Take charge of your own learning. That would be my advice. So that when once you do get into the mainstream curriculum of, let's say, a university degree, you're
Yeah.
not left behind other these other cultures and curriculums and their way of learning. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
that would be my advice.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Justin, for staying with us, for taking time to have a small coffee chat for me and for those students who are watching right now. I'm sure that your advice really helped us, and for sure, we wish you the best of luck for your future plans. And thank you once again.
All right, thank you.